Ciao a tutti, sono Riccardo Masini dall'Italia and you're watching No Enemies Here. Ciao!
And because this is not a war game, it's going to be a little bit weird, but it's a Mark Herman game, so therefore, I'm going to give him that respect to show it on here. Ribbit, a game designed by Mark Herman. And what you get with this game is a 22 by 17 inch map sheet, 16 wooden pieces, and a 4-page rulebook. The map art is by Will Alambre, the duration is 20 minutes, it's a 2-player game, and it solos very well, and the theme is abstract. Designed by Mark Herman. High Flying Dice Games, Courageous Tragedy, The Battle of Belchite, August to September 1937. The designer is Paul Rohrbaugh, the artist is Ilya Kudryashov, and this is published by High Flying Dice Games. What we get with this game is 2 11 by 17 inch maps, 81 double-sided units and markers, 1 player aid, and 1 8-page rulebook. The GIMPY Gamer is doing Stalingrad Inferno on the Volga review through Part 1. This is a game designed by Emanuele Sant'Andrea, the artist is Emanuele Sant'Andrea, and the publisher is Vento Nuovo Games. BLASTPOP evaluates the lock and load rules, Core Rules 5.0, Download Edition. He marvels at the value and completeness of the 5th edition rules, which combine the World War II and modern rule sets under one cover. Please like and subscribe. I completely read that from BLASTPOP's page. BLASTPOP is also doing something super cool. He's taking a look at Time Tripper, an SPI retrospective in time. This is a game designed by Jim Dunnigan. The artists are Joe Barney and Redden A. Simonson, published by SPI. Mauro Faina does what he calls a spot about Tactics 2, a game designed by Charles S. Roberts and published by Avalon Hill. Also, Mauro continues, but in Italian, 60 anni di board wargaming, and he also has another video that is Tactics 2, the war game that started a lifetime of pleasure. This is a war game about, obviously, Tactics 2, a Charles S. Roberts game, and it's the second episode about the history of board war games. AJ Toynbee of Hexes and Soldiers is talking to you about Victory and Glory, Napoleon. This is a game designed by Glenn Drover. The artists are Paul Niermeyer, Jacoby O'Connor, and Keith Rocco, published by Electric Games. Cody of the Discriminating Gamer is doing a game I used to love to play in the arcades, Atari's Missile Command, designed by Jonathan Gilmore and Violet Hargrave, published by IDW Games. Ardwulf of ARDWULF'S LAIR, in his war room, is checking out the Buckeye Game Fest. Dan Verrsen of DVG has a video out, a playthrough on his Warfighter Modern Shadow War. Also, Kevin Verrsen of Dan Verrsen Games is doing a playthrough of Shadow War that is presently on Kickstarter right now. If it's presently on Kickstarter, it means it already is there right now. The gentlemen from the Player's Aid, Grant and Alexander, review Pavlov's House, a game by David Thompson, published by DVG. Alexander and Grant review Compass Games' Lion of Judah, The War for Ethiopia, 1935 to 1941. Mo of Mo's Game Table unboxes Red Devils at Arnhem. This is a lock and load game. It's one of those Battles on Demand edition. Mo is also doing an unboxing of Stalingrad, Inferno on the Volga from Vento Nuovo Games. This is a game designed by Emanuele Sant'Andrea. The artist is Emanuele Sant'Andrea. Hey, welcome back. The OG is continuing the Eastern Front Tank Leader, Turn 4. This is a game designed by Eric Goldberg, Guy Hale, and John Hill. The artists are Stephen Crane, Diane Maltz, and Kevin Wilkins. Published by West End Games. Please check out the OG, the original Grognard. He's got a special thing to give away. Check it out. What's happening on the big board? I'll tell you what's happening on the big board. Kevin, the dictator of the big board, is checking out the Battle of Blenheim 1704, a system and game designed by Stephen Pohl, published by Legion Wargames. Also, Kevin is wrapping up Inferno, or I should say he's wrapping up Stalingrad, Inferno on the Volga. A game designed by Emanuele Sant'Andrea. The artist is Emanuele Sant'Andrea, and the publisher is Vento Nuovo Games. Kevin also takes a look at Lock and Load's publishing 4K X Maps. Counterattack is continuing his daunting task of the playthrough of Empire of the Sun, Turn 3, Part 2, a game designed by Mark Herman, published by GMT. Jeff Capuano is continuing his playthrough of Smolensk, Barbarossa Derailed, a game designed by Dean Essig, Hans Kischel, and John Kistner. The artists are Nicholas Escoby, Dean Essig, published by MMP, Multi-Man Publishing. Enrico Viglino of Calandale fame is continuing his playthrough of Imperial Governors and Strategos, a game designed by Ken Broderst, published by Ariel Production Limited. Calandale wraps up Strategos. MARCOWARGAMER reviews Target for Today, a Legion's wargame, designed by Steve Dixon and Bob Best. Tim Korchnoi of Bare Bones Wargaming is doing a gameplay through of Pavlov's House, The Battle for Stalingrad, a game by David Thompson, published by DVG. Dave from the Centurion Review is unboxing Shining Path, The Struggle for Peru. This is a game designed by Brian Train and published by Microgame Design Group. Dave also does an unboxing of Brian Train's game Red Guard, The Chinese Cultural Revolution. This game was designed by Brian Train. The artist is Peter Schutz, published by Schutz Games. Dave also does an unboxing of another Brian Train game, Land of the Free, American Politics During the Depression. You know, this makes me think, this war game thing. You know, war gamers, we're happy people. I don't know if it's psychologically splitting, but look at a guy like Salvasta. He tells us to have fun in a previous video. Sal, you just made a game called Unconditional Surrender, which probably killed 30 million people. I mean, I know STUKAJOE, the guy's happy. Karl Paradzi, this guy's happy. Herman Lettman, he's really happy. I mean, this guy plays Machikoro with horns, man. And the games this guy's made, this guy's obliterated the world 3 times over.
Hi everybody, my name is Riccardo Masini. I love history, I love photography, and of course, I love war games. I write articles about war games, I write books about them. This is my last one. It is called Le Guerre di Carta 2.0, which in English stands for Paper Wars 2.0. But also I have a YouTube channel and I have a vlog about war games on that channel. That vlog is called Vlog, that is WLOG, which stands for War Games Vlog. On that vlog, I made a couple of weeks ago, I made a video about how to learn war games, how to read the war games rule books, which are one of the biggest obstacles that you encounter when you are approaching a new game and a simulation game in general. Dan from No Enemies Here saw that video, liked it and asked me if I could reshoot it in English, even for the English speaking viewers of his channel. And so I was very glad to do it. For that video I chose not a simple rulebook, not a short rulebook, but quite a long one and quite a complicated one. That rulebook is, here I am, Panzer by GMT Games. It has quite a lot of rules. It has 76 pages of rules. So let's begin, and let's begin with some advices on how to approach a game with such a long rulebook. Rule number one to read that rulebook is don't read the rulebook. That might seem strange, it might seem weird, but if you take a rulebook from page 1 to page 76, you won't learn anything. You will probably just forget everything after a couple of minutes. You just have to understand the main concepts and leave the modifiers, the details, the single procedures for later. You use a technique called skimming. You just go on with the pages and you just read the general infos. The details will come later during your plays. Rule number 2 is follow the rulebook levels. Many games have levels. They have basic rulebook, advanced rulebook and optional rules. In Panzer, basic has 20 pages, 40 pages of advanced rules and 16 pages of optional rules. But also Panzer says, the rulebook says that all the advanced rules are modular, so you don't have to apply them all at once. You just play with the basic rules and then you just add one advanced rule after another. Rule number 3 is take the game into your hands. That is, you just don't read the rulebook. You read the rulebook and you take pieces of the box on the map and you move them, you shoot with them, you roll dice for morale, etc. In that way you will acquire a physical memory for the concepts of the rulebook that will not be just theory. Rule number 4 is play the easy scenarios first. That is, many games are scenario based and they have introductory scenarios first that are used to teach you the game, and then you can go on with the long campaign scenarios or the more complicated ones. But also with games that do not have scenario, you just can play a part of the game. If you have a game that represents and simulates all the Normandy campaign, you can just simulate the American beaches or the British and Commonwealth beaches, not all of them at once. You don't have to be Eisenhower in your first go, you can be Bradley or Montgomery.
One of the things that we did when we started DVG was we tried to go for the core audience, and so we went for World War II with Field Commander Rommel, and also we realized that a lot of people had trouble finding people to play games with because gamers are so spread out. So we started focusing on solitaire games, and then later on that led us to games that could be played with one or more people, like our current Warfighter series. But it was really driven by the market of we were trying to serve the most number of gamers possible. The very, very first one was in 1989. It was Modern Naval Battles, published by Worldwide War Games. and I had read the book Hunt for Red October by Tom Clancy, got inspired by it, designed the game, contacted Alan Emmerich, and he put me in contact with Keith Poulter, the owner of Worldwide Wargames, and it all worked out great, and published games ever since. I do have a chipmunk kind of look. A story behind that is back in, like, I think it was the 1990s. I went to a Gen Con up, maybe in Origins, up in Sacramento, California, and J.D. Webster, the designer of the Speed of Heat Jet Combat series, was there, and he's an ex-fighter pilot, and he gave me my official fighter pilot call sign. So officially I am known as Cherub. So not the most vicious call sign ever, but you know, it's mine. I got into war games just because those were the kind of games that I liked to play, and there were always games out there that I would wish had been designed, and so those were the games I designed and enjoyed playing, you know, myself, and so then it just kind of led to a company. It was a big surprise. That was my very first game. CSR is the Charles S. Roberts Awards, and I really didn't know anything about the wargaming industry at the time, so to be nominated and to win was just a huge surprise, and it was one of those month-long happy things that I just thought about of, wow, my game was published and I got an award, I can't believe any of this is happening. It was all very, very cool. Facebook, I either use for business purposes to promote our games, or on a personal level, I try to keep it happy and cheerful, because I have friends on Facebook on the left, the right, the middle, and these days there's a lot of hostility out there, and so I try to keep my Facebook page as happy as possible, just to kind of counter a lot of that negativity. I would say the two that come to mind, one is our current Warfighter series, because it's flexible enough to take into account different genres. Like right now we have World War II out, we have the new modern Kickstarter running now. We're planning to do fantasy games, we're planning to do science fiction games. It's a very flexible system, and yet it's loose enough on the structural level that you can build in lots of detailed feel for every given generation of it, so it makes everything kind of unique. And the other game is kind of an odd one to be my favorite, but it is. Way back in the late 1990s, I designed a game called Corellian Smuggler for Shadis magazine, and basically you take on the role of this Han Solo-like character with a Millennium Falcon-like ship, and you fly around the Star Wars universe doing Han Solo-like missions. And it was, I think, you know, all modesty, I thought it was a very cool design the way it came out, so I'm very proud of that one also. There aren't like specific subjects, I guess, but subjects that involve basically a lot of misery and bullying, where you have, like for example, the Holocaust, where it's bad, it's all bad, and to even touch that kind of subject matter is just not something I'd want to do. To me, that's something that should be, you know, by itself in history and not be brought into games. Favorite music style? I was a teenager in the 1980s, so I like rock and roll 80s music. And ironically enough, I also kind of like hair bands. I am a huge fan of both. I really topped out in my fandomness for both, like in the 80s with the first of the Star Wars trilogy and Wrath of Khan. Since then, my enthusiasm for both series has kind of gone down. Overall though, I would probably choose Star Trek because Captain Kirk from the original series was my favorite, and so it's hard to beat Captain Kirk. I don't really drink any alcohol. 99.9% of what I drink is either Pepsi or Coke, and I can tell if I need to have water because once every 2 or 3 months I start to get a very particular headache, and then I have a cup of water and then that headache goes away, and then it's back to the Coke and Pepsi for another couple months. I would say the Eagles by a touch, but my 2 favorite bands would be Guns N' Roses and Queen. The Desert Fox. What Rommel was able to do with a limited number of supplies in North Africa, as the British were just hurling supplies at him across the Med, and all of the tactics and strategies that he used, just amazing what he did down there. My favorite is Captain Kirk. I'll qualify that though by saying that in that brief time that we saw Han Solo in episode 4 in the cantina when he's busy shooting first, Greedo is my favorite Han Solo. After that he kind of got like this mushy romantic character, not so much, but that Han Solo for those 5 minutes, pretty darn near equal to Captain Kirk for me. A tough choice. I really like food of all kind. I would give it though a little bit to the Italian side, but honestly I go out for Italian food and Japanese food and Chinese food. I go out a lot, at least once a week. I would say the Sherman, the T-34, great tank, but I really like all of the different variations that they were able to make out of the Sherman and all of the variety, and it was a good solid tank, and it was producible and maintainable and crewable in just massive numbers, and I like that aspect of it. Oh, I have seen the entire Sopranos series. I only watched the first season or 2 of Breaking Bad. I did like Walter White though, but Tony Soprano, special place in my heart. I just loved his style of management.
So wait, he just said that he likes Tony Soprano's style of management. What happened to the cute chipmunk look? It's all a ruse. And by the way, he's hiring. Dan, I'm sorry, I didn't mean in disrespect. I'll take care of that thing that you wanted there on the boat when the games come in late sometimes. I'll take care of it, okay? Dan, don't worry, I'm sorry. Huh? Dan, please. I have a family. Please.
No, it's one of the weirdest things is whenever we put out a leader game, we always get suggestions for like 10 more leader games. So we literally have a list of, we could publish 5 leader games a year for the next 10 years, and we have plenty of subjects between the modern day aircraft, World War II aircraft, submarines, all kinds of fun. We have bombers, all kinds of massive things that we can add to that series.
Thank you for watching, and congratulations to Nate, the Gimpy Gamer, for his new house. And congratulations to the OG for his 1,000 subscribers. See you next week. have a family. Please.